Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to make sure that everything is set up. So if you're online already, hello, welcome. My name is Melinda Kitto. We'll be getting started in just a minute or two, but I'm just going to make sure that everything is running as it should. So I'm just going to come over here and make sure that this is popping up in the right spot. I hope you're all having a fabulous day so far. My sun's shining out here and it's gorgeous and warm, so hopefully it's the same wherever you are in the world. So if you're joining us on the event page, there is a little comment section. I would love it if you could just jump in there and let me know that you can hear me okay. Let me know that this is coming through well and that you can see me and all of that kind of thing. So if you wouldn't mind just jumping into the comments and saying hello, letting me know that you're here and letting me know that you can hear me. Hopefully my internet is going to last the distance today. Okay, let me just refresh this and make sure that we've got some people who can hear before we jump into the content. If you haven't worked with me before, you might not be familiar with my style, but I like to keep things kind of nice and casual and easygoing. So I kind of felt the need to do this big, PowerPoint presentation or, do all these slides and do all this preparation, but I'm kind of like, I'm much better when I'm just winging it. So instead of doing PowerPoint slides, I have pieces of paper. So that's fun. It's a little bit dodgy, but I'm so much of a casual person and I much prefer just to connect on a real and natural level. So we might get started. I'm just going to refresh this one more time and just see if there's anybody here who can hear me that's saying hello in the comments. Otherwise, I might just be a big Nigel no friends, but that's okay. I'm sure a lot of you might be catching this on the recording as well. Okay, no comments just yet, but I'm just going to get started anyway, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. So my name is Melinda Kitto, and I want to really thank you for taking the time to join me today. If you're here, I'm going to assume that you already have a business, or maybe you're thinking of starting a business, but I'm going to make the assumption that maybe it's not quite going how you would want it to go. So you might be in the same position that I was in maybe a year or two ago, where I had a business that I loved, I had a business that I was passionate about, and I had a business that I thought that there was so much potential in there. It was such an incredible opportunity, but I knew in myself I just wasn't giving it my all. I wasn't putting in the effort. I wasn't living up to my own potential and my best, and I was kind of just dipping my toe in the water. And quite frankly, I would dip my toe in the water and then get really scared and run and try and hide. And so this workshop came about from knowing how that feels, and particularly knowing how frustrating it can be when you know in your heart you've got so much potential, when you know in your heart you've got so much to give, but you're just not. And so this is really about recognizing that you do have that belief inside you, recognizing that you do have that potential inside you, but actually getting you to start doing something with that and start shifting out of that hobby zone, shifting out of that zone where you know you don't belong, and really starting to take your business seriously. So it's time to change the actions that you're taking. It's time to change your belief in yourself and your belief in your capabilities, and it's time to actually start making things happen. So today we're going to cover a few things. We're going to cover how to stop letting your emotions control your business outcomes. I've got a bit of a doozy I can talk to you about with that one. How to start taking consistent daily action on the work that really matters, whether or not you feel like it. That's the really important part. And how to actually finally execute that to-do list and start to, get some shit done. And particularly how to get back on track when you feel your energy or your enthusiasm starting to fizzle out, and what you can do to kind of go, okay, get myself back into the zone and get myself moving towards my goals again. And finally, how to just let go of the ledge. We're so, sometimes our fingers just grip onto that safety ledge so tight, and we know we want to make that leap, but we're kind of terrified to do it. So we're going to kind of talk about how you can let go of that ledge and just start to take your business seriously, start to put in the kind of effort that you know your business is worth and that you know yourself and your goals are worth as well. So I'd love to invite you to stick it through to the end, because I do have a really amazing bonus that I want to offer to you guys who have joined us today or who are watching the replay. So stay tuned to the end, because I've got something very exciting that I want to share with you. So a little bit about my story. My background was in corporate training and development. So I spent about 10 years working in a role which was the National Learning and Development Manager for a national furniture brand. And that was an awesome role, very challenging, but I was mainly responsible for creating and developing and delivering training programs around sales, leadership and management, and then also personal development. And so right from the start in my career, I had this real thirst for personal development, and I was always looking for the next program or the next opportunity for me to grow and for me to stretch myself and for me to understand more about how my brain works and how other people's brains works. And I really, really loved that element of what I was able to do. It was kind of, you call it a personal development junkie, but it's always been a real interest and passion of mine to pursue. And interestingly, as part of that career, my husband and I went to a weekend workshop, retreat, whatever you want to call it, and it was by some kind of guru. And he, I don't even remember his name, if that gives you any indication of the quality of the program. But this guy was standing at the front of the room. It was a big auditorium, room full of people, and he was standing there, and people were in tears as he took them through, like, you know, how their self-worth and their goals and their dreams and what they wanted to create with their life. And my husband and I honestly weren't quite into his material, but I remember distinctly walking out in one of the breaks. This is probably about 8 years ago. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I don't know why, but I just have this really strong sense that I'm meant to be doing what that guy's doing. Maybe different quality. But I had this overwhelming sense that I was meant to be standing on that stage and impacting a tremendous amount of people, helping them to unlock what was holding them back, helping them to smash through their fears and their limiting beliefs and start to really create the life of their dreams. So I had this realization about 8 years ago, but as is what happens, life carries on, and you go back to work, and life just continues to unfold. So that idea kind of just faded into the background. And years went past, and in those years I kind of had what I called and what some people would call absolute failures, where I was given opportunities and I sabotaged them and stuffed them up, and basically, yeah, in my mind, I failed at those opportunities that were presented to me. As I look back on them now, I feel like life redirects you exactly where you're meant to go, that nothing's actually ever a failure, it's just a redirect. And I look back at some of those things and go, oh, thank God that happened the way that it did, because I know how my life would have turned out if I had continued down that path. So I'm yes, very thankful for what at the time I considered failures, but what I now see is just redirections. So fast forward a little while, I had my first baby, and it was maybe a few months after that an opportunity came along, perfect timing. And I was very conscious, because I'd always been a career-oriented person, that I didn't want to lose myself in becoming a mum. I didn't want to be one of those people that their life revolves entirely around their children. And I take complete respect for people's choices if that's the way they choose, but that life wasn't for me. I love my kids to death, but I just didn't want to lose. I didn't want to be just mum. I wanted to have my own passions and my own aspirations and things that I could be passionate about outside of being a mum. And so this opportunity came along at the right time for me, when I was starting to find my feet with my newborn and ready to face the world as Melinda again. And so I joined a network marketing business, and that still to this day has been one of the most incredible decisions that I've ever made. I'm still with the company, I still love it, and it's still something that absolutely lights my fire every day. And it kind of exploded. Like, you know, I started following the steps and doing what I was told, and I was working my business, and it just exploded out of nowhere, and almost to the point where I was racing to try and catch up. And I was freaking out a little bit about all of that, but very quickly I got out of that habit of doing the daily work that made it explode, because it was going so well that I started to shift into management mode instead of doing those daily activities that were promoting the growth. And very quickly after I got into that management mode, after I fell out of the habit of doing that daily activity, my business completely fell apart. And that was really hard to take and made me question a lot about myself and who I am and my self-worth. I started to question whether I could do it, whether I was good enough, whether I had what it takes. I started to question whether I even wanted to do it anymore. And I spent so much time trying to figure out why. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just take this action? Why am I holding myself back? Why? And because I'm a personal development junkie, I dug into so many courses and books and audios and all of this sort of stuff to try and understand why. And God, I can't even tell you how long I spent trying to answer that question. And I ended up getting to a point where I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to understand why my brain is wired this way, why I do these things that I do, why I sabotage, all of those sorts of things. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to understand it. All I can do is act in spite of feeling that way. I can't resolve it. I can't work out what it is. I just have to keep on going regardless. And I needed to make a decision. I needed to decide, because being stuck in that limbo land of knowing what you're capable of, knowing that you have the right opportunity in your hands, but knowing that you're doing jack shit about it, that was so painful, so painful. And so I needed to make a decision. And I decided that I was either in or I was out, because being stuck in the middle was just too painful, too frustrating, couldn't stand it for another minute longer. So I had to decide whether I was in or whether I was out. And the idea of being out was incredibly painful to even consider. So when I put it down to that decision, I'm in or I'm out, this option, it was off the table pretty quickly. I had to be in, because being stuck in the middle or being out completely, both of those ideas were too painful for me to consider. So I was in. And once I made that decision that I'm in, I'm going to take this seriously, within months, my business boomed again, my income quadrupled. It's been growing steadily ever since. And more importantly, along the way, I learned to love my business again. I learned to love what I was doing. I learned to love the people that I was working with, because I started to attract the kind of people that I wanted to work with. And everything started to unfold exactly as it was meant to. And along that path, that's led me to where I am today, where I'm actually starting to tap into that dream that I had all those 8 years ago, where I was standing on the stage and realizing that I could impact people in such an incredible way. And that's where we are today. And I want you to understand that where we're up to, what we're talking about, making that shift from hobby to business, it's not about just getting that extra income. It's about setting you on the path to create the exact dream life that you've always had for yourself, or that maybe you haven't even dared to dream for yourself. But that decision that I made, I'd say maybe 18 months ago, it's probably around when it was when I made that decision, that set me on the most incredible course for my business and for my life and for my future. And so I want to mark today as the day that we make that decision for you guys as well. So we want to cover the 5 signs that you're stuck in hobby mode and how you can start to shift into taking your business seriously. I'm just going to pop back over here and just refresh the screen. Don't forget that you can ask any questions at any time. So if you do have any questions, just pop them up. It looks like it's not auto refreshing this, so I need to refresh it every now and then to just check it for myself. So I'm just going to let that refresh. So my first sign that you are stuck in hobby mode, you're gonna laugh at this, but you know, I have no issues about being a little bit of a dag sometimes and not having proper webinar slides, but we're gonna go with the first one here. I'm just refreshing the screen, just give me 1 second. My screen doesn't want to refresh. Thank you guys, I've just finally seen your comments that you can hear me, so hooray, I'm glad I'm not talking to a brick wall. So the first sign that you are treating your business like a hobby and you need to get out of that mode and start taking it seriously, my dodgy slide, you only work when you feel like it. Now, you can't even read, is that backwards? Maybe that way, yeah, you can see it through the back of the page. You only work when you feel like it. This is such a big one, and it's one of the biggest indicators that you're working a hobby instead of working a business. So I want to use a little analogy for you. If you were a restaurant owner, so you've opened a restaurant and you are fully booked, you know, people love your restaurant, they want to come in and have a delicious meal, people are planning their social occasions around coming to see you, coming to eat your food. If you owned a restaurant and you woke up one morning and you went, oh, can't be bothered today, don't feel like cooking, don't feel like talking to people, I don't feel up to it, I'm cranky, I'm tired, the kids are annoying me, I didn't get any sleep last night, don't feel like it. Can you do that? Or do you have to kind of suck it up and go and open the doors? When we don't have that bricks and mortar business where there is an expectation that you have to go and open the doors and be there and put in the work, then there's this tendency to only work if we really feel like it, where we kind of go, oh, I'm just not in the mood today, I'm not feeling it, I'm not inspired, whatever it might be. And what you're doing there is you're letting your emotions dictate your business outcomes. And that is, for me, one of the big signs that you're treating your business like a hobby and not a business. A hobby is something that you do only when the mood strikes you. A business is something that you do daily, regardless of how you feel. And regardless of if you're in the right frame of mind or if you're not. And in fact, if you're in that business, you do what it takes to get yourself in the right frame of mind, because you don't have a choice. You're running a business. You have to be able to open those restaurant doors. And I hope you can see the connection with that analogy. You might not have that bricks and mortar business. You might have a completely online business where, you know, it doesn't really matter if you don't show up for a few days, except it does. So I just want you to see that connection, that if you're only working your business when you feel like it, then you're definitely stuck in hobby mode, and that's where we need to start to make a shift. So with each of these signs, I'm going to talk a little bit about the sign that you might be stuck in hobby mode, but then I want to talk to you about the actions that you can take to make that shift into starting to take your business seriously. So first of all, have a little bit of a think about how often your activity, your output, your work ethic, all of that sort of stuff is impacted by how you feel. Whether you're in the right mood, whether you're inspired, how often are you impacted by those emotions? So the action that you can do to try and make this shift is you need to come up with a tool that can reset your frame of mind when you're not feeling it. I'm going to be really brutally honest with you. My day started out pretty horribly this morning. I had a really emotional exchange with somebody who's very important to me, and I'm still a little bit raw for me, to be honest. So My emotions were all over the place this morning, and the last thing I wanted to do was continue with this. I still had so much preparation work to do, and immediately as soon as that hit me, I was just like, no, I'm going to cancel it. I can't do it. I don't have enough time anymore, blah, 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 blah. And so I could have succumbed to that. And a year or two ago, I would have put out some lame excuse that like, oh, my voice had disappeared, so we'll have to reschedule or something like that. But I also, in that time, have made the decision that my business is more important to me than how I feel in this particular moment. And even if I feel like shit, even if none of you were going to turn up today, I was going to do this anyway, because this was so important to me and so important to my plans for my business and my plans for how I want to show up in the world and how I want to deliver. And so I had no choice. I had to open the restaurant doors. And even 2 hours ago, that was the last thing that I wanted to do, but I needed to get myself into the right frame of mind. And so you need the tools that you can do that when you just don't feel like it, but when you know you still need to open the restaurant doors. So you've got to find a tool that you can utilize when you need to reset your mood. Now, for some of you, that might be something really simple. Maybe you need to go for a run. Maybe you need to exercise. Maybe you need to sort of get out some of that pent up tension and just sort of shift your focus, clear your mind a little bit, and then you can come back to it. Sometimes it's cranking your favorite piece of music. Maybe it's listening to a motivational video. You need to find something that works for you. There's been a few extra tools that have been added to my arsenal in the last year or so, listening to various mentors and coaches, and a really, really powerful tool that I've been using when I feel that anxiety bubbling up, when I feel that resistance bubbling up, when I'm scared, when I don't feel like it, when I've got things that are holding me back. And that's called EFT, or tapping. And this is something that I've only started doing in recent months, but I'm quite amazed with how powerful it is. So if you haven't heard of that before, I might send out some resources for you to have a bit of a look at, but it's essentially a way of, I guess sometimes we try and stuff down the emotions, we stuff down what's bothering us, and we stuff down the problems or the crisis or what is holding us back. And particularly if you're a fan of law of attraction, you know, you feel like I can't focus on the negatives, I've got to focus on the positives. And I am all for that concept. But I love the addition of EFT into my arsenal, because it doesn't just try and stuff that away and go, no, I've got to focus on what I want to manifest, not on what I don't want to manifest. It actually brings that up to the forefront and lets you deal with it so that you can put it aside. So I will send out some resources on EFT, because like I said, that's become a really powerful tool. And certainly this morning, that was what helped me to reset my mood. And one of the easiest ways to reset your mood is just to take action anyway. I don't feel like it, but open the damn restaurant doors. Just do something, because that activity that you take, that sets the ball rolling. Even if you just did one thing and you went, you know what, that's enough for today, you at least took an action that 5 minutes ago you weren't planning on taking, and you can sort of walk away comfortable in the knowledge that, hey, I at least did something. Now, you might have to switch into robot mode to do that. You might need to switch into character. Many years ago, I worked in customer service, and some days you just don't want to deal with the freaking customers. So there was times where I don't want to go and talk to that mole of a woman over there about furniture or whatever. So I had to switch into character and go, you know, hi, how are you? And, you know, you sort of slip into that role and you play the character that you need to play. And so you need to identify, what is the character? Who do I need to be to build the kind of successful business that I want? And if you don't feel like being that person, then you just slip into character for the day and just go into robot mode and get something done anyway. So if you're only working when you feel like it, these are some things that you can do. You can slip into that character, just get something done. Try EFT and tapping, do some exercise, put on music, whatever you need. You just need to find out what the trigger is for you that's going to help you to reset your mood. So that's number one. Second one, oh gosh, I've got a little pop-up screen, just excuse me, get rid of that. cancel. I love it when those random pop-ups. So here's my second dodgy slide. I'm going to hold it up backwards. I forgot about the whole mirror image thing. So sign number 2 that you're stuck in hobby mode is when your ideas list is a mile long, but your done list is pretty weak. I tamed that down because I actually initially had written when your done list is piss weak, but yeah, I'll try and be a little bit more couth. So if you're a creative-minded person, if you, and most people in business are, you will probably have an idea list that is miles long, and you have ideas that come into your head all the time, and yeah, I should be doing this, I would love to be doing this, and that's not the problem here. I don't want you to look at that point and go, oh, well, geez, I've got a whole lot of ideas and I probably don't ever get them all done. That part is normal. What I'm talking about is when there is a gaping chasm between all of the ideas that you come up with, all of the ideas that you talk about, all of the things that you say you're going to do, and the little bitty tiny list of shit that you actually do. When there's that such extreme difference between what you talk about, what you think about, what you come up with, and then what you actually execute, that would be a sign that you're stuck in hobby mode. So I was stuck there for so long. I would come up with all these ideas and like, yeah, I could be doing this and I could be doing this. And I find, I don't know if you're the same, that unless I act on it pretty well immediately or write it down, then the idea evaporates. And later on, I'll be like, oh, what was that thing that I was wanting to do before? But it's gone. It's the same with my writing now. If I have an idea for a post, I have to sit down and write it then and there, otherwise it's gone. And even if I try and come back to it later, the impact or the power behind that message has usually evaporated. So that's why I'm often writing at 1 a.m. because I had an idea came that I needed to write about. But for me, I 100% relate to you if you're in the same position where you have all these ideas but you're not executing any of them. And I was all talk and pretty piss weak action. And I felt like a real fraud because I was all talk, then people would assume like, oh my gosh, this girl's amazing, like she works so hard and she does all this stuff, and I would be thinking, oh shit, actually not really, like I'm kind of just talking about it, I wasn't doing it. And then that starts to be this own self-fulfilling prophecy where you're like, oh geez, I am a fraud and I'm not doing things, and that starts to become your reality. So I totally relate to you if you're in that position as well. So we need to actually start to execute some of those ideas. This doesn't mean you need to execute every idea, but it means that we need to start taking action, where at the moment you're just talk, or you're just fantasy, you're just ideas, and you're not actually putting any of that into practice. So your action, if your ideas list is a mile long and your executed or your done list is pretty piss weak, or weak, if I'm being more politically correct, you need to really evaluate that list. So you need to work out what's really important and what's actually going to contribute to your business growth, separate from what's just fluff, what's just a distraction, what's just busy work. There is tons of activity that you can take in your business that makes you feel like you're taking action. And I have seen countless people's business, I won't say fail because I don't like that word in relation to business, I've seen many people's business fizzle out because they were so stuck in busy work and they felt like they were doing something to grow their business, but in reality, they were just biding time, twiddling their thumbs, avoiding the real stuff that matters. That's what it comes down to. So I want you to look at your list and I want you to think about what you are actually doing on a daily basis and be really honest with yourself. Is that the stuff that's going to grow my business, or am I just doing stuff that kind of is to bide time? Training and learning, like, I'm going to be honest, some of you might be listening to this because you feel like, okay, if I'm doing some training, therefore I'm working on my business. And so maybe maybe you are using it in the way that I hope you're using it, as a catalyst to take some action. But some people, and I know I was one for a long time, would fill up my calendar with all these trainings that I needed to listen to because that was growing my business. When in fact it was really just a distraction, and it was an excuse for me not to actually take the action that would matter. That's the stuff where the fear comes up. That's the stuff where if you're not doing it, you can excuse the fact that you're getting results. I want you to really think about that. When you're doing the stuff that matters, therefore results should follow, right? So if you're avoiding the stuff that matters, it's because you've probably got some fear there that what if I do those activities and the results don't follow? So that's a bit scary. That's like, I don't know if I can handle that. So I'm just going to do the easy stuff. That's not really going to impact my business growth, but I can still say, yes, I've been working on my business. I've been growing. I've been doing this, and this. So I really want you to sit down and look at that list of ideas and go, what is really important? What is actually going to fuel my business growth? And what is just a distraction? What is just the fluff? What is just the busy work that makes me feel like I'm taking action, but really I'm not? So from that distinction, you then need to create a new list. You can still have your ideas list, and I think that your ideas list is incredibly valuable to draw on as you continue to grow. But what I want you to create instead is a commitment list. And this is the stuff that you recognize from your ideas are essential to your business growth. And when you put them on your commitment list, like the name suggests, they become a commitment. If they're on that list, you need to execute them. You need to make that commitment to yourself that this is the stuff that's going to fuel my business growth. This is the stuff that's going to make a difference. And this is the stuff that's going to determine whether I'm going to get to where I want to go. So if you have that mile-long ideas list, I want you to separate it. Fluff, distractions, nonsense, busy work, commitments to business growth. And we're going to come back to that one in a little bit. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to pop back over here and refresh. We'll see how it goes. There's this awesome delay from when I'm talking and when it's actually coming through to you guys. So when I come back over and refresh, it then takes probably about 1.5 minutes for it to come through to you guys. So as I'm talking, if there's anything that's coming through that you're like, yeah, that's awesome, please give me some feedback or shout me out or ask me questions as you go. I'll try and connect back into this chat from time to time and see if I can answer any questions and help you guys out as we go. Number 3, one of the reasons why you may be stuck, one of the signs where you may be stuck in hobby mode, is that your excuses not to do it are more important to you than actually getting the results. So we all have stuff. We've all got stuff that we have to deal with. And some of us have more stuff than others, but that doesn't diminish the impact that that stuff has. So my kids are healthy, and that's something I'm incredibly grateful for. So there might be somebody whose kid isn't healthy who looks at me and go, well, you don't have any excuses. Like, you know, what's your problem? Just, I've got to deal with this, this, and this. And I don't want to devalue anybody's stuff. I just want to reiterate that it doesn't matter if your stuff seems trivial. It's still stuff for you, and it's still important for you, and it's still impacting your ability to grow. So I don't want you to ever feel guilty or stupid or like it's not valid if you have stuff that's holding you back when you kind of go, oh, really, like, that's not really all that bad. Like, there's a lot of people that are worse off than me. Of course there is. And I don't want to devalue anybody's difficulties. I just want you to understand that your difficulties are valid because your difficulties are holding you back. And that's what we're here to talk about, how to stop you holding yourself back. So that's just a little point that I want to clarify. But if your excuses have paralyzed you to the point of inaction, of, you know, just complete inaction, or not even to that degree. There's people on this workshop who are in varying degrees of business growth, business activity, and you might be like, oh, well, I'm not doing nothing. But if you're here, I'm going to guess it's because you know you're not doing what you're capable of. So wherever on that scale you fit, whether you're doing this much activity or whether you're doing this much activity, but if you are up here, you feel like you should be doing this much activity, it doesn't matter. If there's something holding you back from where you know you need to be going, then you're in the right place, because that's what we're talking about. So if your excuses are so important to you that they're holding you in that hobby mode, then that's what we really want to start to make a shift. And sometimes people's excuses are the very reason why they need to be taking this action. And if you've worked with me before, you've probably heard this a few times, where the kids example, where a lot of people start this business because they want to create something for their children. They want to create the kind of life that they never had. They want to create opportunities for their children. They want to be able to give their children everything that they want or need in life. But then the very reason why they're doing the business becomes their excuse not to do the business. And they start to say things like, oh, yeah, I don't have time for that because, you know, the kids have been painful, or, you know, didn't get much sleep last night, or, you know, I can't make calls because the kids are making noise in the background, or I've got to, you know, like the reason why you decided to do this business, why you wanted to do this business, all of a sudden becomes your excuse not to do it. So that's just one example. And the question that I really want you guys to ask and consider deeply is, do you really want the result? Do you want the result bad enough that those excuses don't become important anymore? It's not to say that kids are going to disappear, but if the result isn't important enough to you, then you're not going to find a way around that excuse or around that challenge or that obstacle. When it is important to you, you'll find a way. That's one of my favorite quotes, is if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. If not, you'll make an excuse. Because that's the way that we stop ourselves from taking those steps forward, right? So, do you really, truly want the result that you're hoping to create with your business? Now, this isn't a question of, oh, well, of course it'd be nice. Like, of course I want to make more money, or of course I'd love to quit my job, or whatever your goal might be. Of course, who wouldn't? Like, that sounds great. But you need to really think about, do you want it bad enough that you will do what it takes to work past those excuses, to work around those challenges, to find a way past those roadblocks? Because if you don't want it bad enough, then you never will. Like, those excuses will keep coming, those challenges will keep coming. Gosh, even in just getting this workshop set up, I had such a massive challenge with Facebook ads. They kept on banning my ads because I used the word damn. That was profanity. And even when I removed it, they kept on declining my ads. And I was just throwing my hand in the air, just like, why can't I make this work? And I could have very easily gone, you know what, I don't know anything about Facebook ads. I'm never going to get enough people along to this workshop. I may as well just give up. And honestly, that went through my mind. But then the outcome for me is more important than that excuse that I don't know enough about Facebook ads to make this work. So I had to find a way. And so I found other avenues to promote what I was doing. I found ways to get past that resistance and that doubt that I was having about myself, and the spiral that my mind went into about, I don't know how to make these Facebook ads work, so therefore I must be shit at business. Like, isn't it ridiculous how our brains do that crazy spiral from just one little challenge? So I believe that the outcomes that I want to create are so important to me. They are worth getting past any excuse, challenge, whatever that comes my way. And if you can't answer that same question in the same way, then you need to really ask yourself if you're on the right path. You probably are going to get stuck in hobby mode if you don't have enough passion, drive, commitment to making your business grow. Enough that it's going to outweigh any of those excuses that come along the way. So the action for this one is I want you to go back to that list of commitments. So I'm going to send these actions out to you in a follow-up email. So if you're not writing them down fast enough, that's okay. But go back to that list of commitments that we made in that last point. And I want you to think of every excuse that you would normally come up with as a reason not to do those commitments. So we've decided what's the fluff and what's the bullshit waste of time stuff, and we've decided what's the really critical tasks that you need to be doing and that you commit to doing. So now let's think about what are the excuses you would normally come up with that would prevent you from doing that. And it's maybe it's mindset stuff, like you don't feel like you're good enough, you feel like you don't know enough, you're not confident enough, it's embarrassing, you're too shy, the kids make too much noise to make videos, whatever. I want you to list out all of the excuses that you would normally come up with. And this is a really, really fun activity and a challenging one at that. I want you to look at that list. And then I want you to imagine yourself in court. So you've been called to the witness stand. And in that courtroom, you're surrounded by your peers, your colleagues, your mentors, your family, the people that love you, the people that believe in you. You're surrounded by a whole lot of people that are important to you and that understand what you're trying to create in your business. And I want you to look at that list of excuses, and I want you to feel like you're standing in that witness box and you need to justify to that room why all of those excuses are valid enough to prevent you from going for your goals. So I want you to stand up and present an argument. I want you to argue for the importance, for the validity of those excuses. So, for example, you might have to try and argue that because I'm too shy, that's why I can't succeed in business. And present an argument to support that belief. When you start to think about this, you can often start to realize how kind of ridiculous a lot of these excuses are. How, like, well, and you might not even be able to justify it. You might immediately go, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, I know that I'm being stupid. But that's a really important exercise. Can you fight for your excuses as much as you should fight for your dreams? If you want to fight for your excuses harder, get out of business, because what are you doing? If your excuses are that important to you, then go follow the excuses. If the outcome is important enough to you, then you could never validate, you could never argue for those excuses. You could only argue for finding a way around them. All right, a couple more. I think we're up to number 4. So you are either on fire or you're fizzled out. There's no in between. Gosh, when I was stuck in hobby mode, I was like such a yo-yo. I was either all in and doing crazy activity, working all late into the night, getting up early in the morning. I would do that for a few days and then I would do nothing. I was like up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. And yeah, just this crazy hive of activity and then absolutely nothing, and maybe you can relate. And it took me so long to realize just the importance and the value of taking consistent daily action. And how it doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It doesn't have to be, I don't know, it doesn't have to be this huge deal, this huge thing that takes up so much time or whatever. Just the value and the impact and the critical importance of just taking consistent daily action on the tasks that will fuel your business growth. Not on the bullshit stuff, not on the fluffy distractions, but on the actual income producing activities. So I want you to really think about the non-negotiables in your business. What do you need to be doing on a daily basis to grow your business? And often when you really think about it, it's probably not all that much. Maybe it's just reaching out to 5 people to talk about what you've got to offer. Maybe it's creating a piece of content. Maybe it's, I don't know. I'll use my own example. Last week I had a phenomenal day. It was a beautiful day and I decided to go and work down by the beach. And I decided to let my day be easy. I was going to relax, I was going to chill out, but I was going to do my non-negotiables. And for me that day, I wanted to create, I think it was about 3 videos. I wanted to do a live stream and I wanted to write a blog and I wanted to connect with a few of my team members. And so I went down to the beach and I sat down and I recorded a video. And then I was like, that was pretty good. I'm going to do another one. So I'd done 2 videos in the space of 10 minutes. And then I went for a swim. And then I came back and I chilled out. I actually read my book for a little bit. And I'm like, right, I'm going to do that live stream now. Did the live stream and that inspired me to write my blog. So I wrote my blog, sent a few messages out to my team. And by lunchtime, I had already completed all of my non-negotiables. It was easy, it was relaxed. I'd read my book, I'd gone for a swim, and I walked away going, that's what my business is supposed to be like. That's how I'm supposed to be spending my days. And I wasn't this stressed out hive of activity. I just focused on what are the things that are going to grow my business. And then I spent my morning doing that. I came back home and I shared that content in 5 or 6 places. And then that's really all I needed to do. But of course, because you're on a roll, then you start to do more and more and more. So I want you to understand that business is allowed to be easy. You don't have to be in this frantic, anxiety-driven pace all the time. It's allowed to be so easy that you just go, all I really need to do on a daily basis is these 5 things. I need to connect with this many people. I need to share what I'm doing in this many places. I need to create this. I need to, whatever it might be. What are those 3, 4, 5 non-negotiable tasks that you must do? So your action, revisit that list again. What are the tasks that if you were to just do them on a consistent daily basis would grow your business? And then remove the pressure to do the rest. All of that other stuff will come because once you get in the flow of doing those non-negotiables, once they're done, you've got the rest of the day to then fill as you please. You can go back to swim on the beach, you can go back to reading your book, or you can go, hey, I'm on fire now, I'm going to keep on doing some more stuff. So what are those absolute non-negotiables? Don't be in that yo-yo pattern of frantic and then nothing and frantic and then nothing. Just, it's allowed to be easy. Non-negotiables, consistent daily action. The power of that is freaking incredible. Now this is sign number 5. And for me, this realization was pretty powerful. So sign you're in hobby mode. You're not committed to doing what it takes for as long as it takes. Because we talked before about that idea of commitment. And so many people in startup businesses or in that limbo land of kind of in hobby, kind of in business, put a time limit on their success. They say, I'm going to give this a crack for 6 months and we'll see how we go. Or, if I'm not starting to see results in 3 weeks, then, I'll know it's not for me. You need to be committed to doing what it takes until. And if you are dedicated to wanting those business outcomes, that's what it takes. It takes as long as it takes. You go until it takes. So if you have that time frame in your mind, if you've got that, if I'm not, like, even if you're saying, like, oh, I've been doing this for 6 weeks, I've been taking that consistent daily action and I've been doing this day in and day out, it's been 6 weeks now, why aren't I a millionaire yet? If you're questioning that, then I'm going to say you're still in hobby mode, because it doesn't take 6 weeks. It can, like, some people have this massive rocketing success, but that's rare in comparison to the people who need to take that consistent daily action for a year, for 2 years, for 5 years. It depends on you, it depends on your business, it depends on the actions that you're taking. But if you have a time limit on it, then you're still stuck in hobby mode. It will take as long as it takes. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should pursue relentless activity when there's absolutely no results. I'm not suggesting that you have to stick with one plan Absolutely, you need to be flexible and you need to adjust and you need to be listening to the marketplace and you need to be, you know, you need to be adapting as you go. But if you're putting a time limit on it, really think about that. Is the outcome important, or is how long it takes you important? If it takes you 5 years, is that okay? If it takes you 10 years, is that okay? Is that good enough? If it's not, well, maybe you need to be adding more to your consistent daily action so that it doesn't take that long. But really think about that. Are you committed to doing what it takes until you get there, until you achieve what you want? Adapting as you go, but until. If you're not prepared to work until, do what it takes until it takes. So ask yourself how far that commitment stretches. Are you prepared to take those consistent daily actions every day for as long as it takes? That's a really important question to ask yourself if you're thinking about making the shift from hobby to business. Okay, I'm going to refresh my screen again over here and see if there's any questions that have popped up as we go. While that's refreshing, I want to talk to you about something that's really close to my heart and something that made a massive shift for me in my business. And this is about the ideas around success and around failure. So I want you to think about, what does success mean to you? How would you define success? What would you need to be, do, have in your life for you to feel like you've been successful? So have a think about that just for a moment. What does success mean to you? Sorry, just looking at some of those questions over there. So if you want to pop it into the comments, I'd love to see it. But what does success mean to you? The interesting thing about this exercise is that success means something completely different for everybody. Some people might define success as having $1 million. Some people might define success as being able to have complete freedom of your time, to be able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. Some people might mean, success might mean that they achieve their true potential. Whatever. The definition of success is different for everybody. And the same would be for failure. How do you define failure? How would you decide that you have failed at something? What represents failure in your mind? Again, the definition of that is very personal and it's very different for each person. So I want you to think about that. So many people are terrified, petrified, paralyzed by the idea of failure. That, like, what if I do this and I fail? What does that mean? How would you define failure? Like, at what point do you go, yep, I'm a failure. I completely fucked that up and I'm a failure. What marks that for you? And your definition of failure, again, would be very different to the person next to you. Like I said earlier, when I was talking about my background, things at the time that I thought were failures were divinely sent redirections that said, this is not the path you're meant to be going on. It might suck and it might be painful and you might feel like an idiot and feel like you stuffed that up, but this is the path that you're meant to be going on. And I look back and go, thank God that I changed paths. So now my definition of failure, I honestly don't believe I can ever fail at anything. And that's not to sound arrogant or conceited, but I just don't define failure in the way that most people do. I might stuff some things up, but for me, that's a redirect. For me, that's a learning experience. For me, that's oh, thank God that I learned that so that I didn't continue on down that path. So the point of this little concept is your definition of success, your definition of failure can vary so much from the person next to you because you created it. And because you created it, you have the power to redefine it at any point that you want. And that is huge. If you're so terrified of failure, think about what failure means to you, what would constitute you failing, and then decide to change the definition. If you think that success for you is some far off, I'll be successful when I have complete freedom of time and when I'm a multimillionaire, if that's your ultimate destination of success, great. But it probably means you don't feel all that successful on a day-to-day basis, does it? You probably feel a bit shit because you're so far from that idea of what you classify to be success that you feel that disconnect and you feel like you're never going to get there. You feel like it's over so many mountains and so many challenges and you're never going to get there, right? Well, of course you will because you're you, right? But you feel so disconnected from the idea of success. But again, you have the power to redefine that right now. You could start to define success as simply, I feel successful anytime I do my non-negotiables. I feel successful anytime I make a call. I feel successful anytime I run a workshop when I really didn't feel like it. I feel successful anytime that I reset my mind and get my mind back on track. I feel successful anytime I get the kids off to daycare and preschool in the morning without tearing my hair out or telling them to hurry up 15 million times. I feel successful anytime I eat a healthy lunch. I feel successful anytime I read a really good book. I feel successful anytime that I pat myself on the back or congratulate myself. You can change the definition of what success means to you in an instant. And I'm going to give myself a bloody big pat on the back when I finish this because this was a challenging thing for me to put together. This challenged so much in my belief about myself and my abilities and all of that kind of thing. And I'm going to give myself a bloody good, I don't know, big steak or something to congratulate myself for doing something that is a marker of success for me. And because I've redefined success in that way, I can feel successful every fucking day because I defined it in a way that makes me feel good. I defined it in a way that makes me want more. I defined it in a way that makes it possible for me to feel that every day. In contrast, you may be defining failure as something that you can achieve every day. You've defined success as this far off thing that you're never going to get, but you've defined failure as something that you can experience daily, hourly. Like, I feel like such a failure when I yell at my kids. I feel like such a failure when I go and eat KFC. I feel like such a failure when I don't make that call, when I pike out on this, or where I, like, your definition of failure means that you will fail every day and feel like a failure every day. So no wonder you feel like shit. No wonder you're feeling stuck. No wonder you're feeling frustrated because you defined it in a way that makes you feel like a failure every day. But you have the power to change that right now. You have the power to decide that failure to me means something so ridiculous, so far off, so inconceivably impossible that it will never happen for you. Like I said before, I don't believe I can actually ever fail. I don't believe I will ever fail, purely because I've defined it in a way. I actually don't even have a definition of failure anymore because I don't believe it exists. I believe that anything that you stuff up, anything that goes wrong, I believe that that was divinely sent to you as a lesson, as a redirect, as a correction to a different path, as a learning experience. God, I know I'm going to stuff up so much on my path ahead. I know that there are so many mistakes coming for me, but all of those are perfectly designed to create the success story that I'm going to share. One day when I am standing on that stage in front of an auditorium of people, I'm going to be able to go through and say, because I went through this, because I stuffed this up, because I did this, because this went wrong, that's why I'm here today. Because the lessons that I learned allowed me to grow. Because the experience that gave me stretched me and made me become a better version of myself. So my definition of failure is it actually doesn't even exist. I don't believe there's any experience or set of circumstances where I would classify myself as a failure purely because of how I've chosen to define it. So I want you to make that decision today, that you will redefine success in however feels valuable to you, but define it as something that you can experience today. Attach it to those little activities, attach it to the things that matter, attach it to the things that you want to create in your life. I feel like a success anytime I do this. And you can experience that success today instead of it being some far off thing you'll never get. And redefine failure in exactly the opposite way, that it is this far off thing that you'll never get. And relish in the power and the impact that that has on your life, on how you feel about yourself. I'm getting emotional about that because this has been one of the things that absolutely transformed my life when I realized that I could define what makes me feel good and what makes me feel like shit. And I can stretch those two so that I feel good now and I feel shit as little or as not often as I can. I'm blabbing now, but I hope that that impacts you in the way that it impacts me. If you take nothing away from today, take that one away, because that's a really powerful, powerful, powerful exercise that literally transformed my life. So, shake it off. I hope that that is really insightful for you. I hope that there's a lot that you can take away from that. And I hope that there's a lot that you can start to take some action on right now. Let me just come back over and refresh this screen over here. My little player thing doesn't really like me today, so I apologize. I know that there's some comments there, but I'm not really getting to them. So I apologize. I'm not being as interactive as I could be. I love the feedback that I can see there though. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about is an offer, a really exciting bonus that I wanted to share with you. Whilst I hope that there's been a lot of value and a lot of practical ideas and activities that you can take away to start to challenge your beliefs, to start to challenge your level of activity, we've really just skimmed the surface. And I wanted this to give you something practical to walk away with, but then I also want to give you the opportunity that if you want to dive deep into this stuff and if you want to really dig into it and understand how you can start to transform your life faster, how you can start moving towards your goals in a more aligned and connected and exciting way that you feel passionate about, I've created a course which I am so excited about, and that means so much to me because I know how long I let myself get stuck in that hobby mode and how desperately I wanted to shift myself out of it, but I just didn't know how. And so if you're in that space, this course is designed for you. So I really want you to have the tools to be able to create a business that you're wildly in love with, that you are committed to doing what it takes until it takes because you love it and you wouldn't want to be doing anything else. I want to help you to create that business, and I want to help you to shift into the right mindset to be able to be taking those daily actions every single day to turn it into the kind of business that you are so proud of and so proud of yourself for achieving. So some of the modules, if you want to know what we'll be including in this program, these are just a couple of things. So how to create your dream business and start to do the work that really matters to you and start to work with people that you really love, like kind of redirect who you're talking to so you're not dealing with the shitty customers and you're not dealing with the painful people, so you're really dealing with the people that make you happy and inspired and wanting to work with them. We're going to talk about marketing basics, so how you can get the word out, how you can start to let people know what you're doing, how you can, just really reach the people that you want to be reaching with your message. We're going to talk about how to do business as you and how to really harness the power of you as a personal brand. One of the most massive transformations for me was when I just decided I was allowed to be myself in business, that I was allowed to swear, that I was allowed to be a bit of a dickhead, that I was allowed to cry if I need to cry. When I decided that I was allowed to be myself and I didn't have to try and be anybody that I wasn't, I didn't have to try and be professional or whatever. When I was allowed to just be myself, that was such an incredible transformation in my business. So we're going to talk about the power of personal branding and being yourself in business, and not just being yourself, but amplifying yourself and cashing in on that. That's a horrible phrase. That's not what I mean to say, but how you can really utilize the value of your personal brand. We're also going to talk about getting over squeamishness about the money side of things. So if you feel really gross about asking people for the money, like whether that's in sales or whether that's feeling yuck about putting your offers out into the world, if you have any sort of feelings about the money side of the business, we're going to talk about that and how to clear some of those yucky feelings and how you can start to sell without feeling like a douchebag. That's one of my favorites. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how to shut up that bitch in your head. That voice that gets in there and stops you doing what you want to be doing, who holds you back, who makes you doubt, who makes you question. That's that voice that causes a spiral of ridiculousness when, you know, when that challenge comes up. So we're going to really dig into what's holding you back and how you can clear that shit and start to take strides, leaps, huge steps forward. And sometimes it's as simple as redefining success and failure. I can't even tell you the leaps that I was able to take just by changing that definition. So there's so many simple little things, but there's so many powerful things that we can do to clear that shit and get you moving in the direction that you want to go. And we're also going to talk about what to do when it all turns to shit. When you have those moments where like, I want to quit, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore. How to pull yourself back together, how to get back on track, and how to keep on moving forward towards your goals. And the main purpose of the course is to make sure that we're getting your mindset right and getting your actions to follow so that you can really build the business of your dreams. So as you can tell by some of those modules, like there's a lot of crazy, awesome content in there. And it's a course that I'm so thrilled and so honored to be able to deliver to you. It's been in my head for so long, and to be able to bring it forth is really incredibly exciting for me. Now, because you guys are the first to hear about it, I want to offer something really special for you guys. I want to run this as a bit of a pilot program because I believe that there's a lot of value to it, and I believe there's a huge number of people that could benefit from it. But I want to make sure it's right before I take it to the world. So I want to offer you the opportunity to jump in on this program as a pilot program. So it'll be like a light version of it, and it's basically designed for me to run the modules and to get your feedback and go, yeah, this was really good, didn't get so much out of this one, or we probably need to add more here. Like, I want to run it in a way that you are completely engaged and completely open and whatever else words I need to use here, where it's absolutely designed for you to go, this was shit, this was awesome, I would love it if we could do more of this. These are the modules that really had the most impact on me, where it's this complete open loop of feedback, because I want to deliver something that is going to change people's lives. And I believe what I've got can do that. But I would love for you to be part of that pilot group to really help me close the loop of that feedback and make sure that I've got it right before I take it to the world. So if you're interested in that, I want to invite you along. So this is going to be an 8-week course, and there'll be weekly modules sent out. It's not going to be a huge amount of workload. Like, it's not going to be something that's going to overwhelm you, or that you'll have to keep up with it if you want to get the results, obviously. But it's not going to be this horrendous, ghastly workload. It's designed to help support you in your business, not take you out of your business. And because you're part of this pilot group, you will have lifetime access to the program. So as I start to add more content to it, as I do more and more rounds of the program, as we build on it and improve on it and expand on it, you'll have lifetime access to it. So you'll be able to repeat it as many times as you need to, and you'll always have access to the new content that comes through from it. So like I said, it's an 8-week course. I plan to market it for a price point of $279. So that's what we're going to go out to the market with. But because if you want to jump in on this pilot program, if you want to test it out for me, if you liked what you've seen today and you go, I want to work with this chick a little bit more, then I would love for you to join me. And as a thank you for doing that, as a thank you for your feedback and for the value that you'll add to me in taking this program as part of this pilot group, I'd love to reward you with a pretty hefty discount on that original price. So, and like I said, I'm going to retail it for $279, but I'd like to extend an invitation for you guys. If you want to participate in this 8-week program, you can do so for just $99. So that's just a fraction over $10 a module, which, when I look at the content that I've got lined up for you that is ridiculous value. So I'm going to be sending out a link. My computer wasn't playing fun games with you this morning, so I would have loved to have a link pop up now, but I'm going to email you out a link that you can read a little bit more about the program, see if it's a right fit for you, and see if you're interested in jumping on that program for that crazy, ridiculous price. There is also an option as well that I'm offering to a few people. I am going to limit it just for time reasons, but I am offering a premium upgrade to the program as well. So you can join the basic program for $99, but if you'd also like to add the option of one-to-one coaching with me, where we can dig into your specific challenges and the specific things that are holding you back, you can upgrade your package and get the premium package, which includes 4 one-on-one coaching sessions with me over the phone. So I'm really excited to offer this to you. I'm proud of what I've put together, and I really hope that, well, no, I don't hope. I know that this is the kind of thing that can make a real difference for you. So keep an eye out on your email. What I'm going to send through is the list of action points for you to consider that we've talked about to help you shift away from those 5 signs that you're stuck in hobby mode. I'm going to send out some resources on EFT and tapping if that's something that you're interested in. And I'm also going to send out a link that you can check out more information about my new program. It's called Make the Shift from Side Project to Serious Biz. And I'm so excited to bring it to you. I thank you so much for joining me today. And those of you who've been writing comments, I apologize that I haven't been able to connect with those comments as much as I would have liked to. But honestly, you have no idea what it means to me that you took the time to sit and listen. And I hope that you've taken a lot away from it. I would love for you to connect with me on Facebook. If you want to drop me a message or post on my wall, you can visit facebook.com/Melinda Kitto Biz. So MELINDAKITTOBIZ for biz, Melinda Kitto Biz. Drop me a message there, post on my wall, share on your own wall what you get out of it, and I will be sending out links to the replay as well if you want to share this with your team, share this with your friends or anybody else that you know could get some value from it. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope that you've got a lot out of it. I hope that you go away and start to take some actions, and I hope to see you really, really, truly pursuing that business that makes you happy. Love to you all, guys. Have a great afternoon.